Hey guys, Mario with JDM Fitness, and today I'm bringing to you guys the video on metabolism as promised. I made this video in response to a post I made earlier this week stating that metabolism is not a simple math equation that we should just generally apply to everybody. So for the purposes of this is usually the figure that most people use. So maintenance would be, let's just assume 3,000 calories for average Joe, bodybuilder Joe for example. And for him to gain weight, he should engage in a surplus, and also the opposite holds true. If he wanted to be in a deficit, he'd have to drop calories. And of course, there's many ways about doing this, but again, that's probably a topic for another video. And again, two variables that I really like to take into consideration. Let's just assume that for the dieting purposes, or the weight loss end right here, the variables that I like to take into consideration are the leanness of the individual, and also the time spent dieting that the individual has engaged in. And again, I'll add to this later on, or I'll touch up on that at the end when it kind of comes into play, and you'll see how this all kind of forms together. So for the purposes of this one, I think it'd be most suitable that we talk about the weight loss aspect of it, because this is usually where people seem to have the most questions. So when it comes to weight loss, most people theoretically assume, okay, if 3,000 is my maintenance, I'm going to drop my calories 500 and readjust. And while, yes, you can temporarily get away with this, the body has various mechanisms to counteract that, hence the plateau phase of dieting. So again, this is where your variables actually come into place, because it's not just, oh, I'm going to cut off 500 calories from my diet and I should start losing fat again. Again, if you've been dieting for some time already, chances are more than likely, and if you've been dieting for more than, let's say, I usually give a ballpark estimate of 8 to 12 weeks, around that time figure is usually when I tend to see individuals develop metabolic slowdown. And again, I hope for the purposes of this, you all already know what that means. So again, if you were to just drop your calories another 500, yes, that would help, but it wouldn't be sustainable, because you're taking such large deficits as opposed to just minimal 5 to 7% decreases or increases depending on your goal. And also, I say leanness and time spent dieting, and those two kind of go hand in hand. So obviously, if somebody was dieting for, let's say, 20-something weeks thus far, and let's say he was relatively heavy in the past, chances are, again, more than likely, this individual has suffered or has already taken on various forms of metabolic slowdown. So it wouldn't be ideal for this individual to engage in another deficit, because it wouldn't be advantageous to his body, because in this case, most likely he or she would be dieting on less calories and what would be an appropriate deficit. And again, I kind of want to emphasize also in this, as here as well, is that for another variable that comes into play, I know not many people talk about this, but however, Lyle McDonald advocates a dieting break, or essentially a period where calories are brought back up to maintenance, or even just above maintenance, and at the risk that you're willing to possibly sacrifice a pound weight gain, if at that. I have yet to see that in people, but also the fact that to restore various hormones pertaining to dieting overall. So again, you know, it's not this math equation now, because once you add into many factors into play, this whole plus 500 minus 500 tends to get kind of skewed. And for this purpose, you know, I kind of want to also touch up on dieting breaks and why they play such a role, is because I've already worked with a few people in the past that have, yes, they've been dieting for some time, and there comes a time when you realize, okay, this person has been dieting for so long, they're relatively lean, and they're not losing any more weight on this minus 500 predicted fat loss number, 500 deficit again. So what typically I would do in this case is I would increase their calories back to maintenance, or maybe even just a bit slightly over that. And then, wow, it's just as if they start losing again. But again, it doesn't apply to this little graph that we have set here. So of course, that's kind of what I mean by there are many factors and variables into metabolism. So metabolism can't just be simply looked at as a math equation. And that's really the point I'm trying to get here. So Again, I really didn't know how to tackle this topic too in depth, and I really don't want to start branching off into other topics because, again, I'd like to release a video and just solely focus on that. But hopefully you guys can see where I kind of lie within this little range right here and some things I take into consideration. But weight gain would have to be another topic in the future. But again, little short clip notes if you want to kind of get an idea of as to how I approach it. Usually 5 to 7% increases or decreases, or if you were, let's say, I don't know, for this example, that's roughly a 150 calorie surplus or deficit. So whether that is you doing an extra bout of cardio at 200 calories, or you decreasing calories or you decreasing 200 calories from your daily intake, then that is how you would approach that. And again, if you're dieting for the purposes of dieting, it would be highly wise that personally I'd advocate every 8 to 10 weeks that you take some sort of dieting break. Whether that means you're not tracking your macros, you're not getting too offset and going full binge mode, or as they call it, dreamer's bulk. But again, that is really it in a nutshell. So hopefully I didn't get too off topic, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. If it helped you or something, or if there's any questions you'd like answered from this video, please comment on the JDM fitness page, because I'm usually more active on that, as I always say in every other video. More active on the Facebook, not so active on YouTube. And again, like the page, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. So videos should be rolling out once a week. Thank you guys for watching, and stay safe.